So I'm going to get started. And yes, practical, tactical methods to essentially reel your customers in. It's kind of how you take your message to your customers and then you bring them back to you, because that's what we all want in the end. We want our customers to come back, whether it's community, whether it's, an event, marketing, education, anything. We want to get our message out there in front of customers and we want them to come back. And it is 2021. So do you know where your customers are digitally speaking? Chances are they're all digital nomads. See, I'm using that. I love that. And they're all over the place. So how do you get your message in front of them? How do you sort of bring them to your events, your content, and especially your community? And I mean, I can tell you, we talked to Kat, can tell you, Chill, Mel, we can all tell you, every organization pretty much today is facing that problem. And there isn't one right answer. Sorry if you came here for just the one right answer and that's it. Sorry. So, people are just too spread out and they have their own ways of communicating and consuming their information, which is why RSS rocks, right, David? But thanks to that, you do actually have more options than you realize. So before we get into my favorite hack, so to speak, there are non-email ways to get your message to your customers. Obviously, I'm assuming you're all engaging on social media. It's kind of a given at this point. And you can post relevant news stories and things like that on social media to drive people back to community. It does two things. One, hopefully it drives your members back to the community to have that conversation and to participate. But it also shows that value that Benjamin was asking about, okay, great. There's discussions going on about this issue that I'm, with my peers about this issue that, really, you don't use social? Oh, wow. So interesting. I guess, yeah, it would depend on what it is, but you can do that and you can send it back to people. So there's also advertising. You can target demographics, you can target interests, you can target geolocation. You can target people who visited specific websites or pages, including yours or someone else's. But then you can also target specific email addresses. And that's where you get, into the way that's most likely going to reach your customers, obviously. As of right now, all of these different sites allow you to upload lists of emails for your audiences. And I think Haya is actually going to drop a link into the chat about, there it is. This is just a great summary of how all of these different ones allow you to upload the lists, your email lists, and how it allows you to put your message advertising right in front of your customers and nobody else. So it's great if you have the email addresses that you think your customers are going to be using on these accounts. But if your customers are largely business people, you might actually have a low return on them. And all of your users are not going to be on these sites. So when it comes to Google, they might have ad blockers. I know I do. When they might pay for YouTube, so they wouldn't be seeing ads on there. Again, I do, specifically because I got tired of the ads. Bad thing for a marketer to say. So your customers are spread out, right? They're on a lot of their own platforms. They're consuming the information how they want, or they're on no platforms at all. And yet you still want to bring them back to you. So how can you be almost everywhere at once? Well, this is my corniness. One key to a solution is you can go back to the future with RSS feeds. And if you're familiar with RSS feeds, you might be rolling your eyes. You might be going, I don't understand how that tracks. But as I said before, please don't run away. We lost 2 people when I said that. It's like, no, don't leave. We're not talking about just feed readers. In fact, those are probably the least of the answer. So there is some debate about what RSS really stood for initially, but like David, I love the answer I like best is really simple syndication, because it does fit exactly what RSS does. It makes it really simple for you to syndicate content across a lot of places. Back in the day, Stephanie, I love that you're worried about retention in this session. Very topical. I do like to watch and see if I'm boring people or if they're leaving, because I don't want to, I want people to get what they need out of this. So yes, Drew, exactly. RSS feeds are the best and kind of forgotten about these days. Absolutely. So companies got more sophisticated. They started, being able to email us when there was something new. So we just gave up on that because it was much easier to just give our email address out and we'd start getting emails and more emails and more emails. And now we have serious email fatigue. And it's become harder and harder to get noticed. And print's even making a comeback because email is just so hard to get noticed in email that we do print. And then there's also a lot of mounting evidence that Gen Z just doesn't like to open emails at all. I mean, it's hard to talk in generalizations, but there is definitely some evidence that a lot of the Gen Zers are just like email to them is like a fax to millennials. It's just, it's always been there and it's something like, oh, I might read it. It's like junk mail at this point. But that's okay, right? Yeah, it's spam. All email is spam is kind of how they see it. And Jenny, I think RSS feeds are making a comeback like the QR code did, maybe even bigger. No, definitely bigger. I love QR codes. They're so helpful. So it is okay though that email's gone, right? I mean, it's not really working very well necessarily because we have communities. So our customers will come to the communities, right? If we build it, they will come. I mean, that worked for Kevin Costner, right? So sure, we build it and they're just going to show up and talk, right? Anybody disagree with that? Mark. Google thinks that every email his wife, Mark says, Google thinks that every email my wife sends me is junk mail. I'm sorry. It's really funny. Especially that it's true. It's funny because it's true. The only thing about that theory is that except for your community is kind of in the same boat. I mean, if you think about it, you're Michael, yeah, Mike, yeah, slides will be available later. By the way, Mike is probably sitting there in the background gloating that I still have a lot less attendees than you did yesterday, but it's okay. My content's still relevant, Mike. So here's the thing about your community though. At the end of the day, your community is a website and you have to rely on people to either go to it or to see and read the emails they get with digests and stuff like that, or to download the app and get notifications. And that's fantastic. I mean, when you engage your customers and they like to chat and network, those people are going to keep coming back because they're bought in. They're going to read the emails. They're going to click through and respond. They're going to have the app and see notifications and, click on it. So all of those things are definitely a key to success. That with your core community members, you still need those. But here's the question. How many more customers could you get to buy in if your message got to a bunch of other places where they are all the time? How many of your semi-engaged customers would become frequent posters if they saw your latest post several different places in a day? What would your customers who use a service like WhatsApp or GroupMe, for example, what if they could just join a GroupMe and then every time a new post goes up on the community, they get that on GroupMe or as a text message from their GroupMe or to a WhatsApp group? And I will tell you, I actually have text messages come to me from the community because I go through oh my gosh, there's another Michael Ellis. Wow. There's two of you. That's pretty cool. And you're the one from Austin. You're from Austin, which is where I'm headed next month. Sorry, got off track there. I do actually have text messages from the main community that I'm on coming to me because I basically took an RSS feed, sent it to GroupMe and had the GroupMe messages just going straight to a text feed, which is pretty cool. I don't know if we got Michael Ellis and Mike Ellis in here at the same time. There might be some sort of a universal ramification for that. I mean, who knows what kind of splinters we could cause. It could be disastrous. So sorry. So anyway, okay. If you were able to do that, if you were able to get people into your site from all over the place, how much do you think your engagement would go up? I mean, would it be, how much do you think it could go up if they just saw the messages and it was relevant to Mel's point, the right message at the right time? So feed readers are definitely coming back again as RSS, begins to get used more. They're mostly used to follow podcasts and blogs, but people who are also using them are generally engaged. You don't sign up for a podcast unless you really want to listen to it, right? Or you wouldn't take the time to set that up. So offering up a way to add the community RSS feed for where they're already watching for things is definitely a quick win, because they want to see your content. They want to see these things, or they wouldn't be signed up for it. So that's a quick win, just making sure that they know, hey, you can put this on your feed reader and you can watch it. But going beyond the readers offers just this huge world of opportunity. And I've just been literally ADHD obsessed over the things you can do with RSS for like the last 3 or 4 weeks at least. Not that I wasn't into it before, but I mean, I've been doing this obsessively for weeks now. So there are aggregators like RSS Mix, which Haya had put a link to in the chat just a moment ago, where you can actually create your own mix of several feeds and then output them into one. So say your organization has a podcast feed, a blog feed, and a community feed. So you can create a mix that puts all 3 of those together and just have one mix for your organization, one RSS link for your organization, and somebody can get all of your updated content there, and your community posts all in one RSS feed. You could also use code to turn that into a widget of latest discussions, blog posts, and podcasts on your website, on your social media pages, on your app, anywhere that you can put a widget or an RSS feed or turn one into HTML. Drew, yeah, Paperly is still a thing. AAAE, where I came from, actually uses that to output the majority of their news for their newsletter every day. Basically, she just comes and she clicks, she has the little Paperly magic button on her browser, and she just clicks it. And anytime she finds an article she likes, and then when she gets, at the end of the day, when she goes to the newsletter, all the articles are there, and they have an RSS feed that they just, from Paperly, that they just drop into the newsletter. Super easy, super quick newsletter done by RSS feed by somebody who doesn't have time to sit there and like create hours of paper every day, newsletter every day. And then they put the community feed at the bottom to drive a lot of traffic back to the community too. It's right next to the jobs board, which is where everybody goes in a newsletter usually. But yeah, Paperly is still a thing, and they've made it really nice too. So I actually have my own daily Marketing Matters Paperly newsletter that I put out that's automated. So back to the topic of HTML though. Let's go back to the idea of ads for a moment. What if you could create HTML ads that served up your RSS feed? So every time somebody comes to it, they're getting the latest blog post or a podcast or the latest discussion on your community. And this depends on it being an open community in theory. However, if all you're putting up there is the title, when they click through, they're still going to have to log in order to see it. So you're showing people, hey, this is the kind of discussion that's going on in the community. But you're not giving out any of the content, just the title. And then you're telling them, oh, well, if this is a conversation that's going on, I clearly need to join. So there are services like Ifty and Zapier. Ifty's going way back. I actually thought Ifty had shut down until I went looking for the GroupMe thing a few weeks back, and they had an Ifty for it. If you're not familiar, Ifty stands for if this, then that. And it's a connector kind of like Zapier, but yeah, kind of like Zapier. But they both provide ways to connect your RSS feed to just about any app that you can think of. And that's where, I mean, I have my community messages coming through GroupMe. So I get a text message for the posts, and that's done through Ifty. You can also create emails with the community RSS feed that we talked about that go out a bunch of different ways. You can have them triggered by new content. So like if new content comes in, you can shoot out a message. You can have it just compiling RSS all day, and then at noon every day it goes out for like a noon newsletter. You can have this done with your blog, just your stuff from your community, which I know a lot of communities have the ability to do digests. But what if your digest came from your email platform? So you had more control over the look and the feel, and you had more control. You had a lot more reporting, the same amount of reporting that you get for your marketing emails. What? Oh, I missed a T. Darn it. Sorry. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, Ifty and Zapier are amazing. So you can also use RSS to create that online newspaper with services like Paperly and Instapaper. And you can add your RSS feed to those too. And it's just, there's so much power in the newsletter, even now. I mean, so the ones that actually have real value to them, obviously, if you're just spouting back your marketing message, it's not worth it. But these with the real value are still kind of one of the last bastions of email opens for association members in particular. There was a recent study by ASAE that said that 93% of association leaders said that it was that the newsletter, like the most important role of associations is the newsletter. It's serving up trusted sources of information. And that includes, obviously, a nice curated, targeted newsletter. And today, particularly in associations, it's something you have to need to be able to do very fast. So RSS definitely offers a way to do that. You create different feeds and mixes. You set them up in different zones on an email. You kind of see here on the right how I have latest headlines, more news, and quick takes is 2 RSS feeds. And then you could do that, set it up, and then send it out around noon every day, and just let it run. And at the end, you can put the community in. So after they've digested their news and their lunch, they can just head over to the community to talk in the discussions or to start some of their own discussions based on what they just read in the newsletter. So all of the things that are listed here generally have RSS feeds, but you can also create one. So it's just a matter of setting it up, popping the feeds in the zones, and then choosing what to show and hide from the feed. And speaking of that email on the right, that's what it looks like. But when it comes to me, it looks more like this. And I had to put it in 3 parts just to, because you see on the right how long it is. This is all RSS feed. This one here on the left is an aggregated mix using RSS mix. So it's coming from different places. And this is a test. So it's just certain feeds that I used. I think this is our blog in here. And then the more news is coming from an aggregate feed of a couple of different news sources that are sort of association based in this case. And it's their images that are coming through and everything. And all I did was just bring in the feed. And then 3 and 4 over here are just headlines. And you can see here, I didn't have it on the left. I didn't have any images. Here I did. These are just headlines, left 2 columns of headlines. And I used our blog post and our podcast just to show how that works. And then over on the right, you can see how it looks all the way down. The only thing that, the only thing that I did was this one at the very top is I put that in as the head story. And then I put in a little plug for Superforum, our annual conference at the bottom. So, which Christina will be very unhappy if I don't say is next month in October. So you should all check it out. So the nice thing about it is this took no time. I had it set up today. I've sent it 3 times to myself with different news each time. And all I did was hit send. And I could just trigger it to automatically go out based on my feed if I really want to. So you could also target different stories. So I could say, oh, I only want our people who are in the community to see the community posts if I put those at the bottom of here. I actually have the community going straight into the RSS mix, so I didn't need to usually. You could say, I only want people who are interested in cybersecurity to see this section. So there's a ton of different things that you can do to target that information. Or if you're looking for some extra revenue, you could actually go in and sell, you could do 3 or 4 different newsletters based on subjects, and you could sell that ad space in each one of them. So you get 3 or 4 times the advertising opportunities, and you can just curate your feed a little bit more. So it's still not taking you a lot of time at all every day. So there's definitely revenue opportunity here, as well as bringing people back to the community, bringing people back to your organization. So I feel like RSS is really just getting started too. Even though, it's making a comeback, but it's also just really getting started with the ability to send RSS to text. And with aggregator apps like Shift and Front and Stack Browser that bring all of these different things into one big feed so that you're consuming all of your stuff in one place. If you get an RSS feed into like somebody's Shift, it has the same weight as their Slack messages, their Teams messages, their Outlook emails, their work stuff, their news, everything else. They've weighted it the same as all of these things are critical for them to do their job every day. So I'm not really sure what could be more powerful than that. There are also internal communications applications as well. Somebody mentioned a minute ago about how Oh, David also pointed out that Outlook supports RSS feed too, so you could get people to have it just coming into their Outlook. Somebody pointed out a few minutes ago that they actually used Zapier for internal communications. You could have an RSS feed, say if you use monday.com, just as an example, just because that's what I've been using for project management. You can integrate automated additions to an RSS feed. So you basically mark something with mark it done, and it puts it in the RSS feed, and then either right then if you needed to, or at the suggested time that you send out a digest at the end of the day of things that were finished, you could shoot that email out to everybody on your team so that they know something was finished. So you could assign stuff to them, and then they would get an email using an RSS feed. So there are a lot of ways that you can use that to make sure that your internal team is communicating as well, which is nice. And then there's my new favorite concept, my new favorite toy that I've been playing with, which is turning your marketing emails into RSS. So just having a way to put marketing messages into RSS feeds to further reach your marketing message, and to have it reach people who aren't looking at your emails, but might be looking at your blog, your newsletters, your app, your Facebook feed, might actually be coming to your community, because you can take that RSS feed and put it on your community. Help your marketing team out. Put their RSS feed on the community. Anywhere that you can drop an RSS feed. And then when they click on the link, it takes them to the web version of the email so they can interact with it. If you put that, like the marketing emails, into an RSS feed, and you do it into your RSS mix with the blog posts and the podcast and the community posts, that gives your marketing emails the same weight as all that other content. The trick is you want to be, careful about what you do put in there. Like if you put it in once, you don't want to put it in 6 times in a row, because, people are going to be seeing it and just thinking it's the same thing in the RSS feed all the time. So you want to be careful. You could pick and choose which emails you put into your RSS feed. So if you've always wanted to offer, for example, weekly digests of your marketing emails, but you don't have the time or the energy to go back and recap all of that, you can send them to a specific RSS feed and then have an automated email just trigger every Wednesday at noon or whatever time it makes the most sense. And then you've got an instant digest. So I think that that's where a ton of the possibility is, particularly in RSS, and in getting your message out in front of a bunch of people. And I mean, I just am, the potential to that, for what you can do with it, is just amazing. Again, you could go back to the RSS ads. So with that in mind, Q&A. Anybody have some things they want to talk about? Anybody want to give some suggestions, want to offer some ideas, want to come up on stage and chat? Mike Davis is, you test out newsletters to try out new approaches. Yeah, A/B testing on your newsletters is great. Mike, do you do oh good, Kelly, I'm glad that's the one you asked for. I was going to ask if that's the one you meant. Mike, do you just test, what do you test out exactly, Mike? Do you test out A/B versions? Do you test out subject lines? Do you test out different topics, moving your information around to see what works? What do you test exactly? I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to bring people up on stage. I know they're supposed to be, but I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Test out A/B versions. So yeah, there we go. Okay. While I'm waiting for Mike to let me know what he tests out exactly, Deb said, how do you do the text alerts to new posts? So the way I do it is I actually have a group me set up in this case, because it does, it allows people to subscribe to it, which is the hard thing with text. But I just created a group that a couple of us are subscribed to, and then the group me is just set to send text messages. I know there's other ways to do it. I was specifically actually trying to test GroupMe because somebody was saying that their Gen Z students really used GroupMe. And so that's what I was testing. And then I realized I could do it with text message, but I'm now looking into ways to maybe have it do a text message either way. But with text, you always have to make sure people are kind of opting in, which is why the GroupMe, subscribing to the GroupMe group really helps. It's super cool. And Deb, if you want to catch up with me later, I did, Kelly, if you need me to put this back up in a minute, let me know. There's my information if you want to catch up with me later, and I can show you a little bit more about how I did that, Deb. And then, yeah, I love sending newsletters to my inner reader. I'll have to check out inner reader. I've heard it, but I haven't looked at it yet. But it is, yeah, having a lot of things go to one place is where everybody's going. I'm still working on, I want to set up Shift because a friend of mine was raving about how great it was. And so I want to check it out and see kind of what, how much stuff I can get into just Shift. He loves it. He's like, I love having it all in one place. It's just so helpful. And then we had a question over in the Q&A. Can you please explain RSS again? Yeah, let's see. RSS is kind of hard to explain, but the short version is basically it's almost like like back in the day, it was what we had instead of an API. You could put content into a format that is readily consumable by a ton of different things that like you can convert it back into HTML as a widget. You can put it into emails and bring in different information. You can, use connectors like Zapier and Ifty to actually bring them together and show what the two different do. So the RSS is, it's a feed. So it looks like an XML is the thing. And it's one of those things that when you click on it, it looks like, let me open a browser and show you. Hang on. Got one more minute here. So like really quickly, if I went to, it looks kind of like this. So if you ever go onto a site and it looks like this, this is a mix. So this is actually RSS feeds from a bunch of different feeds. It looks like that. So that feed, you would take this link right here and you would drop it into any of the readers, the aggregators, anything like that. And that feed will then come through in different ways. So this feed you see right here is actually what's populating this right here. Does that make sense? Okay. If you guys have additional questions, yeah, you saw my contact information was up there. I'll put it up one more time. You can connect with me in email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to connect on LinkedIn too. So you can message me on LinkedIn. Oh, thanks, Tamika. Thank you for being here. I hope you all got something out of this that you wanted. If you didn't, okay, Phil, definitely will connect. If you didn't see exactly what you wanted, if you have follow-up questions, seriously, I love to talk about this stuff. I will talk your ear off about this stuff. There are several people in here who are on higher logic staff who will confirm that I love to talk people's ear off about this stuff. So thanks, Taryn. Thank you for being here. And thanks, Phil. Appreciate you being here too. Like I said, I've already got you pulled up to connect on LinkedIn. But yeah, Taryn's saying you can set up email addresses for newsletter signups, do RSS stuff. If anybody on here does have higher logic community, I found out the other day that you can actually you can create a private community and send your emails there, and it will actually turn it right into an RSS feed of your emails. So I haven't even had a chance to explore that yet. I've been playing with a Zapier, with a Zap that will turn into emails too. That is pretty cool. So if you're interested in following up on that and chatting about it more, I'm definitely looking for people who are like keen on that idea to chat with. So please let me know. Yeah. Yeah, Taryn, that was me when I found that out. I was like, ooh, because the Zap works pretty well. And I've kind of figured out a way to do it with text. I know we're over time, so sorry, anybody else. I just figured we'll finish this conversation because I love this conversation. Oh yeah, Asana, emailing Asana products. We use Monday, but yeah, same type thing where you can email the Asana projects. So imagine that you have a jot form, right? And that jot form has that email address to email Asana projects. So every time somebody like fills out the jot form, it creates a new project line in Asana. We actually, that's how we managed our at AAAE, that's how we managed our production forms for the print room. That's how we manage our graphic design requests, our marketing requests, our certification test time requests. We started with jot forms, but then Monday now has Monday forms, so the form is built right in there. But it's the same type thing. You the one thing about Monday forms though that was frustrating is that they didn't have an email you could send back. Oh yeah, see, Monday's forms wasn't great at first, but they've done a lot with them now. But if the one thing they don't have is how you can send an email to the person who submitted it, and the fact that you can now shoot an RSS feed over when a new project is created or a new line is created, and then send an email out so that you can respond to them really quickly, or that it can go out to them directly. That's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, there's some things with the project management tools and then the RSS feeds and that capability with email and like it's really, there's so much there, and I just get so excited talking about it. I mean, there's just so much there you can do. So I'm sorry, I'm like way over time now. Somebody needs to stop me from talking. Thank you again, everybody who's still for coming. I really appreciate your time. Glad that you found this was interesting enough to come and to stay. Please do connect with me. I'd love to talk about this stuff more. And I think Kaya did put a link in for Superforum. I'm going to be doing a similar version of this at Superforum. I'm still working on adding to it. So there's going to be even more, and I'm hopefully going to have even more about the email piece of that too, where you can turn the email into an RSS feed, including some examples by then. So, Superform's free, and you don't have to be a customer or anything. So come, and we just announced yesterday that Guy Kawasaki's our keynote speaker, and I cannot wait to hear him talk. So thank you again. Hopefully I'll see you at Superforum. Hopefully I'll see you on LinkedIn or in my email inbox. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of CMX. Sad it's the last day. Thanks, Michael. Bye.